welcome to my channel. It's Nclex-Rn. This is actually my very first video, so I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an introduction to myself and to my channel so you can get a little bit of a feel as to who I am and what kind of videos I want to create for you guys. So if you haven't already guessed from my channel name, my name is Sana. I'm a working registered nurse here in Toronto. I graduated with my BSCN in August of 2017, and then I wrote my Nclex in January of 2018, which I will talk about a little bit more in this video because I will be telling you guys all about my experience with Nclex. I actually just landed my first job not too long ago as a medical surgical nurse on a nephrology. It's a nephrology / medicine department. It's not full nephro. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about my channel. I created my channel to connect with or share my experiences with my fellow nurses to be, or if you're thinking about getting into nursing, I definitely want to share my experiences with you guys, whether that's school or career related, my tips and advice for you. So you can kind of think of my channel as like a big sister channel, and I want to share my life with you guys like a sibling would. And I want you guys to join me on my journey as I dive into this like new stage of my life as a working registered nurse, which is still insane to me. I still sometimes wake up in the morning and like think I have to go to school, but I don't. I have to go to work now. So that's definitely a life change. So that is a little bit about my channel, and I hope you guys want to be a part of my cute little nursing family. If you do, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. It would mean so much to me. And with that being said, I will get into my topic for today's video. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I prepared and studied for the Nclex exam. And honestly, I'm totally not trying to scare you guys or instill some sort of fear about the Nclex when I say this, but I can honestly easily say that that was hands down the hardest exam that I have ever written in my entire life. Not even that, just preparing for it it's a little bit overwhelming. Like, I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything for you, but it is overwhelming when you're studying as well, and there's just this roller coaster of emotions that we go through. Or if you've already written the Nclex, I'm sure you've experienced this roller coaster or this cycle of emotions. Like, you're overwhelmed but you're nervous, and you're confident but you're scared, and we all go through that. Or if you're about to write the Nclex, you will understand what I'm talking about, because I'm sure that you will go through that as well. I started studying for my Nclex about mid-December, and I wrote my Nclex at the end of January, so I gave myself about a month and a half to study. If you're not familiar with the Nclex format, honestly, it's anywhere from a minimum of 75 questions all the way up to a maximum of 265 questions. And just because you don't, or your computer doesn't shut off at 75 questions, that does not mean that you're doing badly or you're failing. It just means that the computer needs to take a little bit more time and ask you some more questions in order to determine if you are knowledgeable enough to be a nurse. I answered 156 questions. I know that sounds like a lot, but let me tell you, when I hit that 140 mark, I was like mentally prepared to already write all the way up to 265. I was like sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, yup, this is it. I'm gonna be that person that ends up writing 265 questions. But just because I know people that have passed even at 265 questions, it doesn't really mean that you're doing really poorly. It's just the way that the computer system works in determining if you are knowledgeable enough. Like I said, my computer shut off at 156, and I raised my hand, and then the lady came over to me and she's like, "Are you done?" And I felt like I was going to throw up, and I was like, yeah, I think so. So I got up, and then I was signing some papers with her, and she's like, "I can imagine how tired you are." And I looked at her and I was like, honestly, I want to laugh and cry at the same time, so I don't even know how I should be feeling. And I just went home, and thank God I found out like a day later. We get our exam results in the mail. So a day later, I got my letter in the mail saying that I passed. So that was definitely a wave of relief. And I'm not gonna lie, I did try that Pearson VUE trick that everyone talks about, and I did it with my best friend on the phone, and she was like trying to coach me through it, and she's like, "Oh, let's figure it out if you passed." I don't know if that really works or not, but I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people that did try it because I could not sleep at night not having some sort of reassurance if I passed or not. So when I first started studying, I consulted two of my best friends because they had already previously written the Nclex exam, so they gave me a really good idea on how to start studying, where to start studying, and how to organize myself. So one of my best friends, she gave me the best advice possible, which was to study by category. So the first thing I did was I grabbed an agenda. I can show you guys my planner. So I grabbed just like a regular planner and I planned out every single day. I don't know if you guys can see that. Like, I planned out every single day from the day I started studying to the date of my NCLEX. I planned out what I was going to do for the day. So for example, if I was going to write or do practice questions, I would write how many practice questions am I going to do for that day, what topic am I doing for that day, if I'm going to be making cue cards, what kind of cue cards am I going to be making. What really helps out is that you're not only prioritizing your work from the day you start studying to the day you write your NCLEX, like, you're really creating a study plan that works for yourself and works around your schedule. Like, if you have a job and you know you're working, you can definitely plan around that, and you know, if you have some free time at work, you can definitely sit down and do some practice questions. So this is a great way to organize yourself when you start studying. The next thing that I used was, you guys have heard of this before. It's called Saunders. It's the Comprehensive Nclex-Rn examination. I believe this is the 6th edition. Yeah, this is the 6th edition. I'm pretty sure there are newer editions out there, but I personally use this one because my friend, he was kind enough to pass this down to me so I could study from it as well. And what is great about this book is everything is separated by categories. So you have your fundamentals, you have your maternity, you have your pediatric. The best thing about this is not only does it help you go through the content by category, there's multiple choice questions at the end, and that really helps summarize what you just read in the chapter. And there's also, like, they not only talk about like the priority nursing interventions and signs and symptoms and all that stuff, there's also medications in here, which I think is great. At the end of every chapter, I can show you guys as an example. So, for example, you have your maternity and newborn medications right at the end of the chapter for maternity. And I think this is a great way to study your medications, because not only does it go through your medications by topic, it also tells you what you need to monitor if the patient's on this medication, their contraindications for that med, their signs and symptoms, things like that. And honestly, I think, and it also gives you the multiple choice questions at the end too. For the medications, they have practice questions right at the end, so you can practice your knowledge on the medication. So with this book, I also used UWorld, and I know there's a lot of people out there who have different opinions about UWorld, but I will tell you guys my personal experience with UWorld and how I used UWorld to study. UWorld for me, honestly, was a lifesaver. I heavily studied from UWorld, and along with Saunders, I heavily studied from UWorld. I use both simultaneously because UWorld also breaks down everything, like their practice questions is broken down by categories, and I would just do practice questions on UWorld while simultaneously reading the same chapter from Saunders. Like, if I was doing fundamentals on UWorld, I would also be reading fundamentals from NCLEX. I thought that was the best way to get through every topic. The rationales that UWorld gives you is out of this world. Like, I think those are the best rationales that I have ever read. I haven't even read those type of rationales when I was in nursing school. I swear, I'm not even like exaggerating about that, but that is like the best rationales I've read. So the way I studied from UWorld is I did complete all of the questions. I think there's about 2,700 to maybe about 3,000 questions on UWorld. So I did complete all practice questions from the day I started studying up until the last day of my NCLEX. I completed all of the questions. And it's not even about completing the questions, it's about reading the rationales. Like, even if you, for example, you got a question right, don't just skip through the rationale. I would write down the things I did not know. I'm a handwriter, so I would write down not all of the rationales because that would literally take ages, but if I did not know something, or if a word came up, or something was something I thought was important, I would just write it down in my notebook and I would just go on to the next question and read the rationale. And the thing with the rationale is that it not only tells you what answer is right, it also gives you an explanation as to why the other options are not correct. And I think that is so good when it comes to preparing for the NCLEX, because NCLEX is about studying the content, but it also is about how, like, preparing on how to take the test. Because, you know, there's keywords in the questions that you have to pick up on when answering the multiple choice questions or select all that apply. You really need to highlight the keywords, and I feel UWorld really prepares you for that. There are also self-assessments on UWorld that you can take. They just give you like a probability of how well they think you're gonna pass or do on the actual NCLEX exam. And I think that's a great way also at the end, like at the end of your studying course, like by the time you're done studying, like I would say a week before your NCLEX, to do the self-assessments, because that's what I did, and it really gave me a good practice on taking the NCLEX. You know, I didn't look at my notes, I just sat there and I did the questions. There is a timer, however, but you know, just do your best, answer the questions, and it really does help you even get over your nerves for taking the NCLEX exam. So bottom line is, UWorld worked wonders for me. I heavily studied from UWorld. Don't 100% rely on just UWorld to study from though. Like, make sure you do have other resources that you are studying from, whether that's a textbook or another online resource or lecture videos or anything else. But I wouldn't say to solely rely on NCLEX, because I'm gonna say that you're kind of cutting yourself a little bit short there. I know I'm gonna get questions on this. I did about 60 to 100 UWorld questions a day, depending on the topic that I was going to study for that day, and read that chapter from Saunders. So I would like to say 60 to 100 questions. And I don't know if I stated this earlier, but I would study every day for about, I did study every day for a month and a half. I would say I studied about 4 to 5 hours on a daily basis. I isolated myself and completely cut out socialization, and I sat at home and I studied. And don't do that, it's not healthy. I know it's tempting to want to do that because you just need to focus. I need to focus because I get distracted very easily. And you know, study with breaks in between as well. You know, take some time off for yourself, go outside, take a walk. I definitely had to step outside my front door and breathe and come back inside because I felt so congested indoors. So I use cue cards to study as well. They came very in handy. Honestly, it's a great way to memorize content that you can't just memorize from reading off of like a text or a note, because I don't study that way. Yeah, I can remember it for the moment, but I'm not going to remember it long term. This is a great way to test your memory and to study content, and especially rewriting it, I feel like definitely makes it stick in my mind. And you can take these with you anywhere. You know, you can study these on the bus if you're commute anywhere, commute to work. You can take these into bed. I honestly was one of those people that took my cue cards into bed with me. And I also have like fatter cue cards that I wrote, like I wrote about hyperkalemia, hypokalemia, hypocalcemia, and all that stuff. So I definitely I got the bigger cue cards for those. I don't know if you guys can see that. I kind of wrote it all out here. This is just a list of my lab values. With that being said, have faith in yourself. You know, it's gonna go a long way. Don't overstudy either. You know, don't push yourself to the point where, you know, you feel like you're gonna have a mental breakdown. I personally did not study the day before the NCLEX. I took the day off, and my best friend, she told me to as well. She's like, you know what, Sana, like, don't study the day before. Like, if anything, before you go to sleep or the morning of, just review your lab values or maybe some medications. But you know, I thought about it to myself too, and I'm like, there's nothing that I'm going to learn 24 hours before the exam that I haven't already learned studying beforehand. So I'm just gonna be nervous studying, and nervous studying doesn't really go well. So definitely take some time off. I know that sounds like very generic, basic advice to give to someone, but really, honestly, it works. You need to take the time to rest your brain. So if you guys have already written the NCLEX, congratulations. Or if you're about to write the NCLEX, I wish you the best of luck. You know, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna crush it. Be confident. Have faith in yourself. You know, this is the only thing that's standing in your way between you and your dream job. And I have no doubt that anybody, if I can do it, anybody else can do it. I will definitely see you guys in my next video. Stay tuned, and I hope you guys have a fabulous day.